Alright, I'm going to show you how to do an MSD Dis 2 ignition box. I know I did a video of this before, a couple years ago, but I was in such a hurry when I did it. I had to do something that night and I had to get it done. So, here's part 2 of it, and this is going to be a bit of a revisit. In one of my other videos I talked a little bit about this, but here's a little bit more in depth. So, this diagram that's on page 10, page 10, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong page. I'm on a 6-cylinder waste spark, not 4-cylinder. Okay, try this again. Page 10 of the installation instructions. So, I'm using the Dis 2 plus ignition, which would be this top part number, and then it's got all the specs and stuff. So I'm going to turn to page 10 because this is a waste spark 4-cylinder, so I have 2 triggers and 1 power. So cylinder 1 and 4 are on one coil and cylinder 2 and 3 are on another. So here's a general waste spark, and then what you're going to do is, come on, focus. Yeah, whatever. So, in this diagram, from the factory harness, from left to right, trigger 1 will be channel 1 or cylinder 1, basically. Trigger 2 will be the next coil. So, trigger 1 will be wired to the white wire. You'll have to find a diagram from the manufacturer for your wiring harness to do this. So basically what I've done is there used to be a simple connector similar to this, but it would basically, so you just plug the factory side in to the coil, the other side would go to the main harness, and it would already be pretty much wired, and then you would just plug in your other side of this MSD plug here. Well, that has been discontinued for quite some time now. So I had to substitute. I had to cut off the factory side of the harness and make pigtails here. So what I've done is that this has to splice 2 powers. So you take the center wire on the main harness that goes in the coil, which is power, and you have to provide 2 to the MSD box, and then of course 2 will splice back together to provide power to the coil from the MSD box. So trigger 1 is the white wire, which on this case is going to be cylinder 1 and 1 and 4, and then the green wire is your trigger 2 or channel 2, and this will be cylinder 2 and 3. And then once you come back out, channel 1 is going to be this brown white wire. This is the factory here. So it's going to be a brown white wire on the MSD here. So it's going to be the center one here on this female side that goes to the coil. And then the channel 2, which is this wire, will go to cylinder 2 and 3, is going to be a brown-green wire. So basically, your channel wires is going to be this brown-green, and then, green and white, and then it'll turn brown-green for the output to the coil. And then, like I said earlier, the 2 brown-orange wires is power feed to the coil. And then you just plug it in to the MSD box here, and then you'll do your settings. So, quick setup settings are written here on the box. God damn it, I hate this camera. I'll just read through them here. 0 is waste spark off plus 0K. So plus 0K means add X amount of RPM to your top end. 1 is waste spark on plus 0K. That's what I got mine set to. That's what it needs to be set to. And then you have waste spark off plus 4K, waste spark on plus 4K, and then so on. And then once you get to where is it? 5 was it? No, 6 7 waste spark on or off plus 4K. And then 4 through 7 is with step off delay, and then 8 through 9 is ignition off. And then you got your step retard, your 10 degrees, and then your 1 degree increment. And then your 2 step, you'll do your thousandths and hundredths setting. So that's these 2 dials here. And then the next one is your max RPM limit, thousandths and hundredths. That's how that works. And then it's got a port for RPM output, so you can use a tachometer, use it for like a computer. If you're going to use maybe a data log box, you can use that port. There's some other wires on here. So there's this blue wire. This blue wire that comes out right here is your 2-step. You'll connect this to a 12 volt switch source. So you apply 12 volts to it, it goes into 2-step mode. A momentary switch or some sort of a computer output parameter indicator is probably going to be a good idea. Pink wire here is going to be a step retard. So you'll, like if you're using nitrous, connect a 12 volt from the nitrous solenoid to it, and it goes into timing retard. So let's say for when you turn the NOS on, you want it retarded 4 degrees of timing. It'll do it. This brown wire, connected to a switch ground, and it'll turn the ignition off, and you can now crank it to clear flood mode or use it as an anti-theft. So the way I have this all mounted is I got rubber grommets for the box. Down below, I have a translator down here. This other red box, this is MSD ignition. That box you can no longer get. I think I might have messed that one up when I was trying to do something before, but hopefully not. If I did, hopefully I can just run it off of the box alone. I may have a check engine light or something, but hopefully it'll still work. So the way that works is that basically it's green to green, white to white, brown white, or brown white, brown green, and then red. Red is power, and then there's a ground wire, a black ground wire that comes up, but I have that over in this loom pack here. So you'll basically take this wiring harness, you'll splice whichever wires you need to splice to it. So like I said, white to white, green to green, red to red, brown white, and brown green to brown green, and that translates the triggers. Hopefully that still works. If not, I'm gonna have to come up with something, because I need 2-step and RPM limit on this engine. I will not run this engine without it. Well, I will, but I'd prefer to have 2-step and rev limb. So that's how you do these instructions. Of course, you'll need a factory wiring limb, or not wiring limb, factory diagram. It'll tell you which wires are which for power, trigger 1 and trigger 2 for the coil, and then you channel on for trigger 1, which will be cylinder 1-4, and then channel 2 or trigger 2 for cylinder 2 and 3. And that's how you do that. And that's how you, and then there, of course, the other thing on this is there's a red wire and a black wire that come out of the bottom of this MSD box. Red wire goes to fused power, and black wire goes to battery ground or chassis ground, depending on which way you want to do it. but the red wire must go to battery power. And you must fuse it, otherwise you will mess up the box when it fries itself without protection. I can't stress enough of, if you're going to have something like this, a really nice expensive piece that's electronic, it's a really good idea to use a fuse on it. You protect it and you protect your investment. So that's how you wire a MSD two-step box on a 420A Chrysler motor. This is a 2-liter dual overhead cam motor. This one has been converted to forced induction. So that's why there's so much else going on here that you see. So that is a revisit of the MSD box. Another tidbit before we go is that find a good suitable location close to the ignition coil, away from heat sources. And do know these boxes are not watertight and they're not waterproof. So if they're going to be subject to quite a bit of water, you may want to consider putting it on the firewall on the side, or in the passenger compartment on the firewall. Because this length of cable is roughly, I want to say 4.5, 5 feet. So you'll need enough length. So you need to make sure this cable will reach to where it needs to go. So that's pretty much it. And that's how you set